Welcome back to the table for the Friday, April 18, 2025 Market Plus. Jeff French still with us here. And Jeff, we normally record this show on Thursday. This year we're doing it on Friday, so that allows me to have the weather discussion with you.
All right.
Rain was in the forecast. How big of a deal, you kind of talked about this during the program about weather forecasts. How big of a deal is it on trade right now with forecasts on the 18th of April? When does the forecast become heavier or lighter on the trade?
The forecast will become, as the critical stages of the growing season. Obviously, during pollination for the corn, and then August during bean pod fill. So right now, the rain, again, I said it on the main show. I think it's more beneficial. I mean, it recharges the soils, but also it's the lack of rain in some of the areas. Kansas didn't get any of this, and they remain dry. So we'll just have to see if it continues. If it gets too wet, that could definitely have an effect on the acres that get planted. But right now, I think the market takes it as beneficial, which means a little bit bearish.
Had a conversation with a producer in Ohio, and their story is completely different than it is back here in the west part of the Corn Belt. Marketing with that knowledge, how do you do that?
Well, I think you just got to look at your cost of production, where we're at historically, and we're in kind of this two different worlds now with the old crop and the new crop, especially in the corn. And the old crop corn, demand has been excellent, and we've seen the old crop July really rally stronger than the December on that July D spread here the last couple days. It gave some back here this week on kind of this breather, but we'll just have to see what happens. But right now, it's demand focus, but all of a sudden here, it's going to switch to what's going to happen here with the forecast. Absolutely.
Let's talk old crop, shall we, and how much is still out there in the field. Mike had a question that he sent to us, and he wanted to know, as of this date, what percentage of the 24 harvested for corn crop has been marketed, delivered, or contracted? What's the percentage of last year's crop left to sell?
So last year's crop, from the guys, and I spoke to a lot of them when you sent me that question. I heard anywhere from, obviously, it's all gone, to as much as we got 40% left. So I think nationally, there's probably maybe 20 to 25% still in the farmer's bin. But you see these basis levels, they really ratcheted up here the last couple of weeks, but when the prices moved higher, the basis level starting to weaken a little bit. So there is still supply out there, because when the rally comes, it brings out the bushels.
Well, how do you know that? You can't just not every farmer can call every farmer around the world and say, how much corn do you have left?
Well, I think you look at, number one, the price. The market will know. And then you look at the basis levels. When that basis level gets tighter, closer to the futures market, or even above the futures price, which we saw that the last couple of weeks in certain areas, they're needing the corn. And if they're not getting it out there, that basis level continues to move higher. So I think there's probably 20 to 25% left nationally.
And for some, no matter what that market did, no matter how many days it was above $5, they weren't going to sell because they wanted $6.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to ask the individual. Maybe they didn't need the money. I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends on the individual.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the other direction. Bradley in Nebraska wants to know about the dollar. How much lower can this U.S. dollar go?
I think it could go significantly lower. I think the longer this trade war plays out, specifically with China, I think it could move significantly lower. We're taking out some major levels that we haven't taken out in the last 3 to 4 years. And we close below that psychological support number of 100. We're down here at 99 now. So, yeah, I think, time will tell, but you look at the technicals in the chart, it looks like we could go 92 pretty easily.
Is there any movement that you're seeing globally about using the U.S. dollar or seeing this as a good thing for other countries?
Yeah, but there's just so much uncertainty with how these trade deals are going to get done. They're it's going to take a long time when they're doing each country individually. But maybe there'll be some package deals. We'll just have to tell. But the market does not like uncertainty. Now, we've gotten some clarity here the last week or so. But that volatility when, the tariffs were being announced and every country had a different amount, the market did not like that one bit. So we'll just have to see.
Well, the market's one thing, farmers another, and the Mizzou Tiger, MT, wanted to know on X, if I get more government relief dollars, is it going to be tied to acres or bushels? Now, that's an if, but any whispers out there?
I have not heard them specifically, but I think the last time they did it on the acres planted. But, we'll just have to see. But, yeah, there's been some rumblings that, Trump is going to take care of the farmers, and I'm sure he will. But how specifically that comes out, I don't have any specifics on that.
Okay. Let's go to Gary in Wisconsin, if we could. With an increase in nitrogen, is corn, acres, or yield more likely impacted?
I think it depends on where you're at in the country. There's always talk of, cutting back inputs because of high prices, and I'm sure it does happen in places. But I just don't see that. You look at the I-States and the Corn Belt, I just don't see it personally. I think, guys are going to be even more apt to do it to grow themselves to profitability. I mean, that's just that's my opinion.
It's an old playbook. It's happened before.
Absolutely.
And you don't hear, though, anybody saying, cancel my order, I don't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
They like to talk about it, but talk is cheap.
What's the biggest conversation topic in the office this week? What are you hearing?
Well, right now it was quiet. Number one, the corn market, bean market kind of stalled. And then producers were in the field. I mean, if you were a farmer, you were farming this week. Mm-hmm. And depending on where you're at, but in Iowa, soil conditions were pretty ideal. They were just busy. So unless specifically I need to get them, I let them go to work.
So knowing that next week I'll be back, is there something I need to do Monday to kind of ease my mind for the coming week on any one of these wheat, corn, beans?
No, I think Monday, you look at Monday, most of the world Monday is shut down. I mean, we have a big, obviously, Easter weekend. So Monday should be relatively quiet. I mean, we'll see. But Washington, D.C. will kind of dictate that. And, yeah, I mean, we're just watching the headlines and then the Trump tweets. I
want to go back to soybeans. One thing I didn't quite get wrapped up that's been fighting. I asked you about a technical thing in feeders, but beans, again, it's back to trade a little bit on some of the headlines. But is there any technical action going on? I think the 200 moving day average was kind of a story there for a little bit on this. Can the soybean market shove away to the side the tariff talk for its movement?
Yeah, I think it can. I think it has to get into what's bigger than the tariff talk. That's going to be the weather this summer. And again, the acres are going to be low in the beans of the intentions. I mean, we'll see here in the next, by June 30th what the actual planted acres are. But, the beans had a big snapback rally. Now it's going to get into more difficult areas. You got July right up here against 1050. You got new crop at 1030. So we've had a nice rebound rally. Now we're going to have to probably see some of these deals actually get done. That's what it feels like. We're kind of pausing here to potentially maybe take our next leg higher on some announcements made next week. So we'll see if those come.
All right. Good luck finding all the eggs this weekend.
Thank
you. Are you hiding? Are you the hider?
I help out where I can.
Yeah. Be careful the ones in your shoe. You'll be
All
fine.
right.
All right, Jeff. Good to see you.
Thank you, Paul.
Jeff French, everyone. A reminder, we want you to get signed up for that Market to Market Insider newsletter. It is free. Sign up at markettomarket.org. Next week, farmers navigate changes in labor policy, and we'll have the commodity market analysis with Ted Seifert. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.